Hey everyone, I'm Miles. I'm a fledgling game developer and programmer from the US Midwest. I thought I might try starting a video devlog for Escher, which is the game that I've been developing mostly from scratch in C++ over the past few months. I've been wanting to put out more content about the game's development, but I found that posting a lot of tiny tweet-sized updates and writing long technical articles both kind of sap my motivation for different reasons. So I figured I'd try something sort of in between those two things in scope and see if I can find a happy medium. This is episode 0, not episode 1, because I figured since I've already been working on the game for a while, I should take this first video to sort of give an overview of what I already have and what I'm going for, and then future videos every week or two will be about specific things that I've been working on and how I've implemented them in more detail. Also, when you think about it, a devlog series is basically just an array of videos, right? And every good low-level programmer knows that arrays start at 0, so I feel it's fitting. So the basic idea of the game is simple enough. In the world of Escher, perception informs reality rather than the other way around. It's an isometric voxel-based game, but the camera is not fixed. You can rotate it to one of 4 different views, and the world is exactly as it appears from each view. I'll show you what I mean. So for example, in this level, we can see that these platforms are separate in 3D space, but if we just turn the view, now they look like they're connected, and so we can just walk right across. Likewise, in this level, it sure looks like this block is in our way, and so we can't get past. Even though, when we look at things from a different perspective, we can see that it was never really there to begin with. And I've programmed the game so that the rule set for this is pretty much fully general. So you can just pop open the editor and place some blocks around, and the level updates immediately. There's no manual markup required or anything like that. For the most part, so you can really play around in the editor and find some pretty complex and fascinating consequences just from the simple base mechanics. Of course, there are supporting mechanics as well, built around the idea of these virtual connections and physical connections between blocks. For example, if adjacent blocks are different colors, then the illusion breaks down, and maybe they aren't connected after all. Or maybe some blocks are a bit fragile, and so they fall down when you walk across them, and can land on top of other blocks. Or you can change size, or maybe it's the world changing size, who can really say? And you can fit, through small gaps and onto tiny platforms and get to places that you otherwise wouldn't have been able to get to. Or maybe some virtual connections between blocks actually become physical connections when you walk across them. Or some blocks sit atop motors that turn them when the camera turns, and if one of those motors is turning in lockstep with the camera, it kind of looks more like those blocks are standing still and the rest of the world is turning around them, if anything. And, of course, motors can turn other motors that in turn turn other motors, etc., etc. So, you might notice that you can't, fall off the world or really die in any way. There's no enemies, no time limits, you don't have, a limited number of camera spins or anything like that. At least not at this point in the game, anyways. You really have all the time that you need to work on each puzzle with no distractions, and that's very intentional. I don't like to burden the player with any unnecessary stress or pressure from within the game, because I think those things tend to take people out of the sort of relaxed, open-minded state that's maybe most conducive to solving the sort of lateral thinking and spatial reasoning problems that that are required for puzzle solving, especially, non-Euclidean puzzle solving. The puzzles themselves will get pretty challenging, of course, but I really want Escher to be a game that pretty much anyone can just pick up and play entirely at their own pace, keeping the game really approachable and almost non-threatening in that way has been one of the main guiding design goals from the very beginning. With these mechanics, I think the core of the game is basically in place, but there's still a ton of work left to do, of course, regarding level design, fleshing out the game's narrative, graphical polish and better art, audio, music, optimization, testing, bug fixing, and the whole myriad of other miscellaneous stuff that goes into actually developing and finishing a game. I hope you'll join me for future devlogs where I'll go into more detail on some or all of these things, and we'll hopefully see how the game evolves from here all the way up until it's released.